Welcome back to Liberal Breakdown. So, Donald Trump just fired shots at Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky again. And this time, it's during what's supposed to be a US-led push for peace with Russia. Let's break this mess down. Trump accused Zelensky of disrespecting the Oval Office and said, get this, he's not ready for peace if America's involved. Like, really? Zelensky's country is literally being invaded. What do you expect him to say? Yes, sir. I'll roll over now because Donald Trump says peace is convenient today. This is classic Trump. He hears something that doesn't stroke his ego and suddenly it's a betrayal.
And as President Trump meeting with Norwegian's Prime Minister today to discuss trade and the war in Ukraine as Russia launches massive airstrikes again overnight in the country's capital of Kyiv, killing at least 8 innocent people. And yesterday, President Trump called on Ukrainian President Zelensky on Truth Social, called him out for hurting peace negotiations with his comments on Russian control of Crimea. Former NATO General Secretary and Norway's current Minister of Finance, Jens Stoltenberg, will be at that meeting today, knows all about these negotiations and the belligerent Russian government led by Vladimir Putin.
The peace talks in London are, of course, very important because it is an effort to try to find a peaceful solution to the brutal war in Ukraine. We all want this war to end, and the US, of course, wants the war to end. At the same time, we all know that the quickest way of ending a war is to lose a war. That will not bring peace. That will bring occupation. So we need to convince President Putin that he will not win on the battlefield and that he has to sit down and accept a lasting and just peace. And the only way to get there is to provide support to Ukraine so they can the stronger they are on the battlefield, the stronger they will be at the negotiating table.
So Zelensky dares to be honest about the situation on the ground, and Trump loses it. He called Zelensky's statement about peace being far away the worst thing he's heard. Worst? Sir, have you met yourself? And here's the twist. Trump did criticize Putin this time, which is rare. He told him to stop the attacks on Kyiv. And yes, that's the bare minimum, but we'll take it. The irony is, he still managed to blame Zelensky more than the guy launching missiles. This isn't about peace. It's about Trump trying to look like a deal maker again, even if that means ignoring Ukrainian sovereignty or pressuring them to accept a bad deal. And let's be real. Any peace that rewards Russian aggression, that's surrender.
The Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, is a TV guy, used to work at Fox News, was a co-host of his own show, and he's been doing appearances on Fox News from the briefing room at the Pentagon. Now, there's a green room adjacent to the press briefing room that used to have a table in the middle with some chairs around it where officials would study their notes before they would go out and brief reporters. So what Secretary Hegseth did was he asked for it to be modified into more of a makeup studio. So they took out the table and chairs, and they put in a mirror, and they put in a long countertop for makeup, and they put in a director's chair. So there was just a small number of changes made. Initially, the plan was for it to be about $40,000 or actually higher in renovations. Now, in this kind of period of cost cutting and the era of Doge austerity, that was changed to something much more simple. And actually, Pentagon officials told my colleague, Ellie Watson, and I that they were able to recycle items from other parts of the military, other parts of the Pentagon, to move them in there to lower the costs of doing these renovations for this makeup studio.
All right, folks, brace yourselves. The Pentagon, the epicenter of U.S. defense strategy, has reportedly been outfitted with a makeup studio. Yes, you heard that right. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, formerly of Fox News fame, has allegedly prioritized contouring over counterintelligence. According to reports, Hegseth directed the installation of a makeup studio in the Pentagon's press room, initially estimated to cost over $40,000. The project was reportedly approved by his wife and aide, both former Fox News producers, because evidently national security now includes ensuring one's foundation is flawless under studio lights. What's particularly rich here is that this comes amid ongoing cost-cutting initiatives under the Trump administration. So while programs are being slashed for efficiency, funds are being allocated for a makeup studio. It's like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, but with better lighting. The Pentagon's rapid response account dismissed the report as trash, asserting that no specialized makeup studio exists and that the changes involved reused inventory. So perhaps it's not a full-blown studio, just a well-lit area with a mirror, because nothing says combat ready like a good powder room. This isn't Hegseth's first brush with controversy. He's also under scrutiny for allegedly sharing classified military plans via the Signal app with his wife, brother, advisor and personal attorney. So, while he's ensuring his on-camera appearance is impeccable, perhaps operational security could use a touch-up. In conclusion, while the troops are focused on defense strategies, it seems the top brass is more concerned with blending techniques. If only national security could be enhanced with a bit of concealer.
Here, where do negotiations really stand between the US and China? China says we're not talking. The US says yes, we are. What's really going on?
It's a good question, but I think you nailed it there with tone shift, because that appears to be mostly what this is. The U.S. claiming, the president claiming, that the United States and China are in frequent collaboration daily, he said, on trade issues. China this morning says, no, that's not the case, and said in part that if the U.S. wants to resolve this, they've got to end the tariffs. And that is not the plan. The White House making clear yesterday through the Treasury Secretary and the Press Secretary that there will not be unilateral stand down or drawdown of these tariffs. China's got to give something as well. The Treasury Secretary speaking to global financial leaders over at the International Monetary Fund here in Washington and suggesting that they've got to help with this rebalancing that the U.S. is seeking, and that China is just way too dependent on the sort of cheap exporting that it does to prop up its economy. So it's all in response here at the White House, at least, to the fact that the markets have been jittery over the last few weeks since this began. He's trying to get the numbers back up. They have improved, because the tone at least has shifted, and the signal from the president is that 145% tariff is coming down. But he said, when it comes to the conversations with the 90 or so countries around the world, if they don't start talking to us more seriously, we're going to set a price in about 2 to 3 weeks of what the new tariffs are, in essence trying to goad those conversations along.
President Trump claims we're making tremendous progress on tariffs with China. Meanwhile, China says, what talks? It's like watching a game of telephone, but one side isn't even on the line. On April 24th, Trump told reporters that negotiations with China are moving along nicely. But China's foreign ministry quickly shut that down, stating that no discussions are happening and any future talks would require the U.S. to first cancel all unilateral tariffs. So either there's a secret negotiation happening in an alternate universe, or someone is misinformed. It's ironic, isn't it? Trump boasts about progress, yet the tariffs are still sky high, 145% on Chinese imports. China isn't sitting idle either. They've slapped 125% tariffs on American goods. It's like both sides are in a standoff, but only one is pretending they're dancing. All this while, the International Monetary Fund urges global leaders to resolve trade tensions rapidly. The IMF warns that the trade war poses a serious threat to global economic stability. So, while the world watches nervously, our leaders are playing a game of he said, she said. In conclusion, it's clear that the path to resolving these trade tensions is anything but straightforward. Let's hope that both sides can come to the table with genuine intentions and a willingness to compromise. Until then, we'll keep watching and hoping for real progress. I mean, if this is what progress looks like, I'd hate to see what failure is. Maybe next week Trump will claim he's negotiating with aliens too, and the Martians will be like, bro, we don't even have Wi-Fi. But seriously, trade policy should not feel like improv comedy night. We need transparency, consistency, and, I don't know, actual diplomacy? If you're tired of economic theater disguised as strategy, hit that like button. If you think we deserve better than tariff whiplash and headline politics, smash that subscribe. And drop a comment. What do you think? Is this just more Trump bluffing? Or is China stonewalling? Let's talk about it. Respectfully but boldly, right down there. See you at the next one.